Hello, everyone, and welcome to the regular Legislative Committee meeting of the Town of Vegreville for October the 8th. I call this meeting to order at 3:01. Seeing how my phone's not up here, I better turn it off. It's the last thing we need. Okay, so I would like to get a motion to adopt the agenda if I could, please. Councillor Curtis, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Next, I'll look for a motion to adopt the minutes of our last regular meeting. Councillor Bullock makes the motion. Any errors or omissions within the minutes? Hands up if you read them. All those in favor? Carried. I thought I'd throw that in there. Okay, so we have no delegations. We're going to start with Manager of Public Works, Dan Quigg, is going to give us a quarterly report update. Take it away, Dan.
Okay, good afternoon. Just to give you an update of a few things we've done since my last report. We've had two water breaks. One was on 56B Avenue and 44A Street. It was a 12-inch valve that the bolts were leaking on it, so we dug it up and hydrovaced and replaced all the bolts on that one, and that one was a pretty simple one. The next one was on August 20th on 50th Street and 58th Ave intersection. That was an 8-inch valve. The top of the valve was cracked on it, so we just had to cut that one out and replace the whole valve. That was the main ones for digs. Other than that, we're starting a winter preparation now, which includes putting snowboards on the trucks, snow fences going up around town. Winter sand is in the shed, ready to go, and we are starting fall sweeping.
Yes, I've had quite a few comments on the sweeper being active all around town.
Yeah.
All positive too, by the way.
Good, good.
So the one on 50th Street, Dan, that valve was how old was, I mean, it was
25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much everything on that north end of 50th Street?
Yeah, that was a new main, but old valve, so it was time for it to go.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions? Have you seen the forecast for the winter yet?
No. The almanac, you mean?
Yeah.
No, is it good or bad? Because everybody tells me different versions.
Well, what I've heard through reliable sources, Environment Canada, is that we should have a mild winter up until January.
Kind of like last year then.
Yeah, sort of like.
Yeah.
And what was I going to ask? Oh, shit. Sorry, I was going to ask something and I forgot what it was. It's kind of weird. Okay, well, go ahead.
Yes, Your Worship. My charming bride this morning reminded me that the mountain ash tree next to our place is full of berries. Therefore, it's going to be a very cold winter.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
in January. I have more faith in that than the Environment Canada report.
My tree's got a lot of berries.
So how about staffing levels, Manager Quigg? We're good, everything's full at Public Works?
Yeah, we were just, we have one operator 2 position open that we just posted. It was just available because we promoted within before, and we're just gonna fill that one right away, hopefully.
Okay, good. Well then, thank you for the update.
Is it doing this report?
Oh, sorry.
There's
I
the
got more.
budget stuff, yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I just thought you were just here to let us know about those 2 leaks.
So the CRF sand seal was done. It was completed in September 4th to 6th. It was budgeted for $70,000. We spent $70,000 on it, and it was awarded to Redon Roads. The following roads were completed from 48th Street to 43rd Ave, 41st Ave to 41st Ave, sorry, 47th Ave from Maple to 52nd Street, and then 54th Ave from 50th Street to 49th Street, then 54A Avenue from 49th Street to 47th Street.
And were they all the same size that we put down, the sand?
It was just that sand seal where they put
Yeah.
the oil and the sand on the top, and then we sweep it off after a couple days.
As I thought that when I went by the one from 47th Ave to Maple, no, sorry, the one that goes by East Line's old building, what is that? That's 50, it's the avenue, well, Diaper Avenue. Actually, it looked like it was coarser there, but
The sand,
yeah,
it was all the same stuff. Some of it just, I think it absorbs better on the rougher roads. That one was in pretty good shape, just trying to maintain it, keep it maintained so it doesn't get so many cracks. So you get those ones, 47th Ave, probably a better example of it had a lot of cracks, so it fills them in better, so we don't have to crack seal it every year.
yeah, well, it looks
It
good.
looks good this year. I was impressed with it this year.
Okay,
Next one up was the paving of 47th Ave. It was budgeted for 103,500. It came in 103,200. So it's completed. I think it looks way better than it was.
and how did the residents, any complaints about
No.
the work being done or anything?
Well, there was a couple phone calls saying that Chris did a good job and whatnot, so.
Excellent.
Next up was the sewer lining program. It was $100,000. We spent $100,000. In situ form technologies did all the relining around town. 52nd Street to 45th Ave, 45A Avenue from 53rd between the houses to 45B Avenue, and then 47th Ave from 49th Street to 48th Ave, or Street.
So were you actually there when they went in and cut each service out? Did you get to?
Not for that part of it. We were there more when they were doing the cleaning parts of it, because if they had issues, they wanted us to see it
Oh, yeah.
after. But yeah, they did come back and do some, they called it brushing of the surfaces to make them more smooth, so stuff can't hang up on it.
It's pretty good technology though, eh?
It went very smooth, actually, once they got going on it. Yeah. And the last one I have is the 52nd Street, that whole project, which was 300,000. We spent 90 on that, 90,000 to reline that street. And then we were also able to do some, for 90,000, we were also with the money saved, we were able to reline 47th Ave from 49th Street to 48th Street, like I said before, and 45A Avenue across to 45B. Additionally, we were able to replace a total of 5 manholes, which two included were emergency digs, because they had no bottoms to the manholes, and the lines going out of them were breaking up, so the flow was not there. Then additionally, we were able to do some of that robotics that we've talked about before on 49A Street to 49th or 59th Ave, and 48th Ave to 52nd Street, which all had big calcite buildup that we showed that footage of previously. Then lastly, we were able to do the CCTV and cleaning of the Foxview main from 55th Street to 60th Ave and provide condition of that sewer main.
And the condition now that it's been,
It's good.
we don't need to replace that sewer.
I don't think so. If anything, in 10 years or something, maybe reline it, but it's in better shape than
It will be.
a lot of other ones, yeah.
Yeah, so the water and sewer are fine in there. It's just building a road, well, I guess the services need to be,
Services, yeah.
yeah, we need to disconnect the old services and put new services in and build the road.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, this technology, I mean, that's nice that the savings, and you put it to get some other stuff done, and were all 5 manholes, bottoms were gone too?
Yes, we had quite the list, because we have, every Friday we have hotspots, we call them, that have problems where it hangs up because the bottoms are rotting away and catching. So we have to go with the hydrovac and flush them out, suck them out. And now that we've got off 5 bad ones, it's, instead of taking 3-4 hours to do it, it's down to an hour.
So how many do you feel we have in town?
More?
Manholes, like the bottoms are in rough shape?
We have a list on the board, these were the worst ones, so that was good to get them off. As they go out and do more cleaning, we find more and more, we have to do more cleaning. There's a few more. I don't have an exact total, but there's a few more for sure.
And what did you request in the budget? Enough to do 5 more?
That was the spinning of the barrels.
Oh, yeah.
Not replacements, because to spin them was $8,000 and to replace them is $25,000.
Okay, well, it'd be nice to get caught up on that,
caught
on all
up on
those, and,
Kind of hoping with the relining program that if we can, you know, see a bad manhole before we're going to reline, that we can get it fixed as we reline and, you know, knock them off that way.
you're done. Any more questions? Well, sounds like you guys have had a productive summer over there. Sure not without some challenges and stuff, but
Yeah, it was good, busy fall, spring. Hopefully it won't be as bad, but we'll see. Depends on the forecast.
yeah. Okay, so no more questions? Thank you very much.
you.
Next up, Director LeFay's not here. CAO Ling.
All right, thank you, Your Worship. The item on the agenda is the GOV 1012 Advisory Boards and Committees Policy. So the background on this is the Gov 1012 Advisory Boards and Committee Policy was scheduled for review in September of 2024. Legislative Services and Senior Management Team have reviewed the policy and have proposed the following amendments. So the reformatting of the policy to be in compliance with Gov 1001, updating the department from Strategic Services to Legislative Services, and updating the position titles in Section 4.1 from Communications and Marketing Manager to Community Engagement and Economic Development Manager or their designate. The communication strategy on this one, if approved, the updated policy will be shared on the town website. So the options before council today are the council may discuss and accept the changes as presented. This policy would be presented for approval at the next council meeting on October 16th. Or council may recommend additional changes to Gov 1012 to be discussed at the next legislative committee meeting on October 22nd before approving for the following council meeting.
Okay. Any discussion? Very short policy to read, so which is nice. I have a question. When do we go from strategic services, from legislative services to strategic services?
I'm not exactly sure. No, or when did we go from strategic services to legislative services? That's probably about 3 years ago now. I think that was part of the reorganization.
And we want to go back to what it was?
No, we want to, the policy is old enough that it was written as strategic services.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you guys think, option 1 or 2? Wow. I guess we'll see this on the 16th.
We'll bring it on Monday for approval. Or Wednesday, sorry.
Okay, next up will be me, I guess. So we've received an invitation to, well, you know what? Maybe we're gonna let Councillor Wawa speak on this one.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is, of course, an invitation to their form of the Chamber's Christmas party this year, and it's called Lost Vegreville Casino Night. So I think it's going to be really nice, a little bit of a different type of evening. You know, sometimes it's hard to know what to be able to take your staff to, and there's some decline in the formal type of, you know, sit-down dinners that were going on before, so they were looking for a way to kind of maybe make it a little bit different. So they're bringing in a fun casino, so there'll be casino tables set up. There will be seated tables as well as high tables. And there is going to be a DJ afterwards, and the tickets are $50, so they're a little bit less than they would be with a formal meal. But I think that we're in for an interesting evening. It's going to be appetizers, and they're all being done by the Culinary Arts program at the schools. So it's an opportunity to support that program, as well as kind of have a fun night. There'll be some prizes, and it's going to, I just think it'd be a nice night to be able to have people go home and then come out with your staff and just have a fun evening. So I'm looking forward to it. Hope that a lot of our council can come as well, because we are trying really hard as a chamber to make sure that everything's planned ahead of time so that everybody can attend that night and actually get to sit and have fun, which I know sometimes is hard to do. So the tickets are there. We're gonna keep passing it around if you can when it's out on the social media, if we can share it on our web pages. And that's it. But should be a good night. Something different.
Any comments? Yeah, I think when they started this and they got a lot of small businesses together to bring them out, and it sort of run its course, and now we have this format change here. Because I know a lot of businesses, their employees were, there was a lot of fundraising going on and stuff, and a lot of their employees were sitting there and just, you know, was it their Christmas party? I like this format, and, you know, I've attended a couple evenings like this, and it can be fun. I mean, it's not real cash. It's really, it's a lot more fun if it's not real. And again, I just think there's more opportunity for everybody to socialize and stuff. Go ahead.
And unfortunately, this isn't just about this. I just would like to say in general that, you know, I can see a lot of our clubs and our organizations are trying to really do that reboost that kind of calmed down during COVID, where people weren't going out to the big events. So you noticed for a while, people weren't hosting events. And there's some good big events coming up. We're seeing people going out into the community. I mean, you saw the Legions hosting that 80s night, and it was selling out in one night. So I think that's kind of the signal of two things. One, that everybody wants to get back together again, but also just a reminder to everyone that I know it's become quite easy sometimes to maybe not want to head out. We got a little bit into that, but these are the only ways that most of these clubs can raise money as well. So, you know, I know the chamber is a little bit different, but they provide a lot of services for the small businesses, and they'll feature the businesses. There's some sponsorship opportunities, so, you know, thank any of the businesses you see, but even for the other ones that are out there, I mean, everyone tried to give everybody as much of a respectful break as they could after COVID, but, you know, volunteers are short and groups are trying to get back into fundraising again, so.
Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Worship. I was just curious, has this been advertised out to the public as of yet?
You know what? It was just decided, the poster at our meeting. This was, so I'm thinking it's just coming out.
It's just a minor little thing, but maybe they could correct the telephone number. It says 70 instead of 780.
I see it. Yeah, I'll let them know.
Just let them know. It shouldn't make any difference to people. They should realize what the number is, but
Yep.
if they haven't sent it out yet,
Yeah.
why not?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll need a head count probably we'll need to know by the next council meeting, I would probably. No, that's the 16th, right? Well, that sounds like a good time, so. Okay, so I guess we're moving on to the round table. We're gonna start with Councillor Curtis.
Thank you very much. The only things I really had was there was some calls from residents regarding crime in town, and they see there's an uptick in that. We've seen a lot of posts on Facebook and talking about break-ins and that. So there's some questions around the policing and when police are out, and they feel like people are committing these crimes at certain times of the day, and they feel the police is not, the presence isn't there. So I was gonna do some digging, I haven't got around to it yet, but some digging into when, and if we have any information I can give back to them, or if they can call the police directly. That, and the other thing was from another resident around our bylaw enforcement 24-hour line, that they said they called a few times and just kept getting answering machines and weren't getting any calls back. So I called, and I got through to somebody, and I just wanted to check and see that it was working. So it does work, they do answer the phone there. I asked for some more information. I think it also may be around if you get the answering machine, it would depend on what you give them for information, if it fits the criteria to go forward. If it meets whatever criteria they have to pass it on, I'm not sure, but I think we could probably get some more information from admin on this to ease the residents' minds. But yeah, there was a lot of videos with the, groups of people walking around back alleys early morning, late at night, ringing doorbells, walking away. So there was just a lot of concern on that. And that's what I had for my roundtable this week.
So our last quarterly update from the RCMP, property crimes are down in town. I know people, I don't really feel from what I hear in the community that they're down, but maybe people just aren't reporting property crimes as much as they used to. Everybody's just become so accustomed to it that, and again, I mean, the policing is not the problem. We all know that. It's, even if they catch the guy, he's back at it in the morning, so. And when you say that you would like an update on, so when the 24-hour call, when you engage them, you think that there's certain key words that are said that, or is it a live person, like a real person?
So what the person that called said, they kept getting an answering machine, so they'd leave a message, but they weren't getting a call back. So I was just trying to get some more information around if what you say into your message, if they go, okay, does this fit the criteria of something we need to pass along? We'll pass it along, and if not, maybe they don't do anything about it. I'm just trying to figure out what could be the reasons why.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Bullock.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, pretty late for me. I only had one guy give me a shout lately, and it's about something we said we would do and we didn't. So I forwarded him to call the CAO, and I don't know if he has yet or not. So I'll leave it at that, and I'll check with you after.
Councillor Orla.
Well, I actually only had one, and it was a crime one as well, but I think it was spurred from some social media shares. And so the person who called me did make the comment that they hadn't called it in. So I just kept reminding people that even for amount of police presence that's there, that if you don't call it in, it doesn't get logged. And that's the only one I had. But also I would remind people that they have to call it in and not, to be very cautious when considering doing things on their own. Because there were some suggestions of, sometimes dealing with stuff yourself. And while I can completely understand, protect yourself as well, because more often than not in the society we're in, you do what you think is helping, and you end up being the person who gets held accountable rather than the criminal that should have been in jail. So I'll just leave that at that.
Yeah. Victims have no rights.
Typically.
Councillor Riddick.
Exciting phone calls for me. The parking lot at the arena, the lines are not clear. So burning issue there. And then I still am getting questions about the fire bills going to insurance first. And so I've gone back and rewatched the video that we put forward, and I actually think it's very clear. Not certain why people are confused about it. They feel like they weren't informed, which is exactly what the information campaign was intended to do, to raise the concern. So it's maybe over time people will understand that, of course, no different than if you're in a car accident, you have insurance. The insurance company is responsible for the costs of that. The rest of the residents in the business community should not be responsible for the cost of fire suppression. And I think, unfortunately, some people have not quite understood the details, but still hearing calls about that. And then the other one was the rec classes at the pool, that there's been some inconsistency with booking and location, and I know that there's been some change in staff. So just some inconsistency there, and that I don't know if we're at the point yet where we can have the online signups. I know that that was a goal before, so that people could do online sign up for classes that they could then monitor themselves. But I think there's a little bit of concern just about the lack of consistency there.
Okay, thank you, and I always encourage people that have problems about us billing the insurance company for fire suppression, go back to the car accident. If somebody hit your car and you were covered for a rental car during the period, would you pay out of your pocket? No, you would actually use the insurance. But I don't understand how people keep thinking that we're going out of our way to bill residents for this service. We're trying to bill the insurance companies of the residents that are carrying the coverage. Thank you very much. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not so much getting telephone calls or et cetera. So it's a little backup on what's been happening just the last little while. So I'd like to say thank you to Leslie for all the work she's been doing in terms of the museum deaccessioning and working out there. On Monday, we met with the auction firm that will be doing the auction, just so that the public understands that we are now in the final phase. We have completed all the other steps, and the next step is what remains out there will go to auction. And so they are currently in the building, and they are putting lots together. They're taking photographs and getting ready to put it online. It'll be a totally online auction. And I cannot quote dates because that wouldn't be appropriate to say any dates because they're the ones that will set the dates. But you can figure mid-October-ish that the first online auction will occur, and the items will be up online, and the bidding will start and go from there. And there's a very good chance that maybe a second, because there's a lot of things, but to make it so that it isn't too vast all at one time, there'll probably be towards the end of October, a second online auction, just so that we can stage it out and make it a little bit easier for people to look and do the bidding. On that thought as well, looking at things over, often it's customary that members or employees of a museum cannot bid. There are no employees of a museum in this situation. So therefore, everybody in town is eligible to bid online. That's the way, unless council would like to make any recommendations as to whether there should be any exceptions or not.
Why don't we just wait till it's over and then listen to the conspiracy theories?
I'm certain
We can go that route.
that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I'm sort of broaching it here right now publicly, is that
Of course.
there's no conspiracy whatsoever.
It's
This
an
is
auction.
strictly a public auction.
Exactly, no different than a sealed bid.
Yep.
Yeah, we're trying not to.
So everybody, stay tuned. It will be well advertised and available, and probably be about the middle of the month that it'll kick off and start. And we're on basically finally the final phase of wrapping up everything out there. And along that line, there is the one situation, and that's a very lovely statue of His Right Honorable Don Mazinkowski. And I'm sort of wondering or suggesting if council / yourself, Your Worship, would be best to draft a letter to the Mazinkowski Heart Institute in Edmonton and see if they would be interested in displaying that statue at that facility, because that is a prominent facility that was named after the Right Honorable Don Mazinkowski, and it might be a very good location for that statue. It's not easy for us to try and keep it anywhere in town, in my opinion. And with vandalism that there is going around, I would not want it sitting outside. So if we could consider that maybe as being an opportunity to have that appropriately displayed.
I think that is a great idea, Councillor Barry.
Well, it's not just my idea. Councillor Lemko brought it to me first.
Who's driving him there?
Yes, we'll engage and take some photos and see if we can't make that happen.
Okay, appreciate that. And other than that, I'm still cleaning up out there and assisting, but I'm following their instructions. I'm staying out of the way.
Do you know what's gonna happen with the corn crop?
I haven't heard yet, but there will be a meeting tomorrow night at the Ag Society, and I will be asking them more questions. It might be that they're waiting for it to turn. In other words, I'm thinking they might be waiting for it to get frost, and this is one of the first years that we're already in October and that corn has not frozen. Usually, it's already frozen well before this time, or frost.
They
I won't
won't
say
be
frozen,
fencing it in
frost.
and turning some cattle on it.
No, I don't think that would be appropriate. It's been suggested, but I don't think that would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Lemko, your turn.
Thanks, Your Worship. I have no calls regarding anything negative in the community regarding anything. I did get 2 calls regarding kudos to the Public Works Department for the work that they're doing in the alleys. One individual said that it's amazing to see the potholes that you bounce through are all level, and their machine that they drag behind or drag in front of the skid steer is doing a marvelous job, and the grader ahead of time. So 2 individuals called and said kudos to our Public Works Department. It's nice to see you getting us kudos for the work our Public Works people do. And that's all I got.
Excellent. I too had a couple of calls regarding the box scraper and what a nice job they did in the alley. And I had another call from a resident in the south side, said why didn't they finish the other end? They filled all the potholes in and they got almost to the junction of the street and just left the holes there. But again, I mean, we've looked at what our needs are for alleys, and we have a bunch of crush now. We just don't have the right size equipment really to finish alleys the right way. So, I mean, we're doing what we can with the box scraper, and I know the employees are getting a heck of a lot better with that, and so. As far as other phone calls, I've had nothing but positive remarks throughout the community. A lot of people are asking why we're subdividing the old Radon Motors property and stuff, and everybody's happy to see something happening there, and can hardly wait to find out what it is. And a lot of comments about Synergy and the old ATCO building, and yeah. So things have been pretty positive for me the last couple of weeks here, so which I appreciate. Moving on to Director's Highlights, we're gonna go to Director Saskew.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have continued to spend time working on the 3-year operating and 5-year capital budget. I've spent time with several department managers, updating budget figures with them. Significant time has also been spent going through each line item, getting things back up to speed from transition while I was away last year. On October 5th, this last Friday, was the draft budget deadline for my managers. I have been spending my time this week going through their budgets and preparing the overall budget for presentation to council at the budget meeting on November 12th of this year. Our admin team is still not currently fully staffed, with accounts payable and finance manager positions being open. The hiring process for both of these positions has been underway since we last spoke. An update should be available on staffing in the coming weeks. Other highlights of this current period include the time spent reviewing applications for finance manager position and conducting interviews for both AP and finance manager postings. We had a meeting with Valid on September 24th. I attended the Alberta Munis Conference. We updated 2024 financial statements, and audit preparation for interim audit is coming right around the corner as well. We had a follow-up asset retirement obligation study meeting, that's a mouthful, on October 1st, 2024. So that process is actually going very smooth, and we should have an updated report from John, the engineer, fairly shortly. So that's exciting. I will actually know dollar values and can explain to council the repercussions of that report once we have that from him. Also had a meeting with County of Minburn regarding recreation and waste management figures. quarterly managers meeting we had on October 3rd, so last week as well. I am working on the insurance PQR for the 2024 renewal, which is a very long-winded document, and I'm excited for finance manager to be in place again so they can help me with that. But I will have to do this one my own because it is due on Friday. And we also had a meeting with LAPP Corporation, so the COO and the VP of Communications came on Friday and met with myself and Christina. So that was actually the first touch base we've had with LAPP as long as I can remember. I don't think they've ever come for a touch base. We also have our benefits meeting with Alberta Munis this Wednesday or Thursday, I can't remember which day, but in the next 2 days, I have the quarterly benefits update with them. So those numbers have already been worked into the budget, so stay tuned. And that is all I have.
Any questions? Go ahead.
I was just going to let you know that maybe you saw already that there was a press release today for the LGF funding for 25 and 26 is an increase based on revenue that had increased, but it's less than what was anticipated. So I'll look forward to seeing if you have some more money for next year.
Yeah, I was just reading that email 2 minutes ago.
Excellent.
So Director Saskew, regarding the asset retirement obligation, we feel that everything will be in place, that we could hopefully have a non-qualified assessment again this year?
Absolutely. So there are a couple of buildings, so depending on the age of the building, et cetera, there's different criteria that John is gonna recommend that we do like further hazmat studies on, but he can provide an estimate based on historical. He has enough of a pool of information that he says should satisfy the auditors for a non-qualified opinion for 2024 audit in 2025.
And have you had any more conversations regarding our assessment with our assessor company?
That has been ongoing. I'm hoping they had said that they could possibly provide a assessment, like not an official one, but something once they have it compiled together in the fall. So I'm hoping before December to have something of that sort before we finalize budget. But as of right now, I promised that they are going to update it, but I don't have any actual figures to do some comparisons for.
Okay. But you feel comfortable that they're taking this matter seriously and they are going to have an action plan to make the assessment closer to what it really should be in this community and not leave assessment values for 20, 30 years on the same property the same?
I think they're gonna have to, like, they have promised that they're going to, but also just with the number of sales that we've had this year, real market sales are real market sales. So if we have neighbors that are getting assessed higher because their house sold for that dollar value, we're gonna have a real hard time explaining why this neighbor who built their house in 1970 and it's nicer than the neighbors that sold this year, why their assessment is lower than the one that sold. So I'm hoping that they are gonna stick to their word and update their assessments, because with real sales figures, there's gonna be some discrepancies between neighbors on people that have sold and people that have not sold. So they promised me that they will make sure that it looks correct for 2024, for 2025.
I know that we never hear from people that aren't selling their house with their assessment being low, but in the last little while, there's been people that couldn't borrow the money to buy a house based on the assessed value at the bank and what real value is, what they settle for a price and go to the bank because the assessment is 30 years behind today's real market value, and it's becoming a problem. So again, I hope that we'll be able to hold them to a true assessment, and hopefully we can get this thing turned around here a bit, so.
One question on that.
Go ahead.
So I know you said they're kind of look at some of the sales and try and, compare them out to, are they talking about like any certain percentage of potentially blanket increase?
That they haven't got into specifics
Okay.
with me. I keep sending them things that I see are discrepancies, and they assure me that they are taking it into account when they're updating. They said they have to update every single assessment in town, not necessarily blanket, but looking neighborhood by neighborhood. And
Yeah, then they'll probably in likelihood hit some of that. And the only reason I ask that question is, like, I get it's gonna take them a little while to start to figure out, you know, because obviously a square footage of a house doesn't automatically mean they're going to be the same value. I mean, there's a lot of other things to factor in, but there would be some help if they at least, you know, if they were not correcting it in some way. Even a blanket increase allows us a mill rate decrease to kind of start leveling it up, so that people wouldn't see it as a dollar change, but it would get us closer in the assessment values. But if they're talking about neighborhood by neighborhood, it probably.
And that is my goal. Like, I've given them some specific examples where a house has been listed and that assessment's gone up and other assessments have not gone up in the neighborhood, and they are, sometimes it's neighborhoods where the houses are almost identical, house by house, so that one's hard to argue that that next house next door isn't worth the same as the one that's been listed. So I have continued to send them examples, and I'm very hopeful that they follow through on this.
And again, they are appointed by the provinces. We get to choose who our assessor is, but they have an obligation to take this matter and not just rubber stamp an assessment on a house for 25 years and never change it. I mean, that is just not doing their job. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, CAO highlights.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a few highlights since the last legislative committee meeting. Director Saskew and I met with Valid regarding tax-exempt properties. Current plans are to set up a meeting in Q1 of 2025 between Valid and Council to start those discussions. Attended the Alberta Munis Fall Convention with Council and Director Saskew. October 1st, went to Lac La Biche with our Manager of Protective Services and our Payroll and HR Administrator to conduct 2 interviews for the CPO position. And then we conducted a 3rd interview for on another candidate here in Vegreville. Director Saskew and I met with the County of Minburn CAO and Corporate Services Director to initiate the Recreation and Solid Waste ICF discussions. We held our quarterly managers meeting here this past week, and we discussed the purposes of how, and how to complete a proper performance development review. It was a full learning session put on mostly by our HR administrator to instruct everyone on the value and how we should be completing these. And we have offered the CPO position to one of the CPO IP candidates. They have officially accepted in writing. Their first start date will be November 12th.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you very much. So moving forward, we have, we're closed on October the 14th. We have a public hearing, not today, right, Leslie? Not yesterday, yeah. I was all ready for one, but I don't know. Somebody put it in my calendar wrong, I don't know. Could have been me, I'm not pointing fingers here. Okay, so, is there any other business of council? Seeing none, I see we have 3 items that we need to discuss in closed session, so I take a motion to enter closed session. Councillor Berry makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. I make that motion at 3:44.